This is Representative Nosse.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and colleagues. Today I want to rise to commemorate LGBTQ Pride Month, which takes place every year in June. This weekend in Portland, the Pride Parade takes place on Sunday, and it kicks off at 11 from the North Park blocks downtown. This year is a pretty monumental year in the community's history because we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots, which marked the beginning of the organized and concentrated effort to achieve full equality for LGBTQ Americans. That mass demonstration against LGBTQ oppression, the first of its kind, took place in 1969. And back then, being gay was criminalized in every state in our country, and LGBTQ Americans were shunned from public life. Today, as we know, there are LGBTQ elected officials in every state. We can't take our hard-won freedoms for granted because we've seen things roll back from time to time. Transgendered Americans used to be able to serve openly in our armed forces, but they've recently lost that freedom. And they now face the difficult and unjust choice of being forced back into the closet or being discharged. At the same time in the Stonewall riots, Oregon treated its members of its LGBT community sometimes very poorly. Many were imprisoned or locked away in the state hospital, and many were forcibly sterilized. Our community was under threat. When I moved to Oregon in 1992, that was no different. That was the same year that Measure 9 was on our ballot, which would have forced state and local governments to adopt standards recognizing that LGBTQ people were abnormal, wrong, unnatural, and perverse. In fact, Oregon is a state that's had more anti-LGBTQ ballots in its history than any other state in our union. But luckily, our state has made a lot of significant progress in the last century, and now we have some of the most robust protections for our community of any state. I'm able to live pretty happily with my husband and our children and our grandchildren as an out gay man, and something that would have been unthinkable to do in 1992. And while Oregon has come a long way in the last few decades, we still have a little bit more work to do. Elements of our community are still struggling to achieve visibility and equality. That's why I'm glad that Pride Month is celebrated not just in Portland, but across our state, and a lot of different communities across our state, all over Oregon, from the Gorge to Southern Oregon, from Bend to Astoria. And I encourage you to join in with those parades if you're able to do so. They're often quite lively and fun. Colleagues, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to represent my community in the state legislature with two other representatives who do the best they can to stakehold with me as well. And with that, I wish you all a very happy Pride Month.